Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here this week, Parshas Behar-Bechukosai, double Parsha again. The last of the series of double Parshas. Actually, in Chutz La'aretz is going to be another double Parsha, I believe, Chukas Balak. But here in Eretz Yisrael, not until Matos Maseh, Behar-Bechukosai. Behar and Bechukosai are the last set of double Parshas, like I just said, and they have two Rashis, one in Parshas Behar, one in Parshas Bechukosai, which I really feel give us an insight into life in general and to a lot of things that we don't see. You see, in life, a person, things happen to them, things happen to nations, things happen to the Jewish people, and many times people ask why. Why does this happen? Now, the truth of the matter is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his cheshbonos in Shemaim, why every single person gets exactly what they're supposed to get. And we know person has bitachon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing the best thing. But also, Chazal tell us there's a reason for why things happen in the world. And yes, it's true, we don't have a Navi today. We can't even have the Navi that tell us the reason why this is happening is because there needs to be a certain tikkun over there. Israel did this sin over there, like once upon a time the Jewish people had. But we still have the words of our sages, of Chazal, who can teach us and give us insight into why things are happening. And the truth of the matter is that in this parsha, once in Behar and one in Bechukosai, the Rashi reveals to us, based on the Gemara and other sources, that why things are happening. The first one is at the very end of Behar. In Parshas Behar, it talks about a load of different halachos with regards to your land, selling land, and slavery, and different things. And at the very end, Rashi quotes a Gemara that explains the entire chain of events that's happening in this week's Parsha. He starts off by saying that if a person is doing the wrong thing in the very beginning of the parsha, talks about Shemitah, and the person doesn't keep Shemitah. Shemitah is a hard mitzvah. It is. It's a very hard mitzvah, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that a person can do it, and Baruch Hashem here in Eretz Yisrael, every Shemitah year, there are more and more people that are keeping Shemitah, and it's a tremendous chus for them, and it's a tremendous chus for the entire Jewish people. But for a person who doesn't keep Shemitah, so it seems from the outside that that person is making parnasa when everybody else isn't, when in fact it's not true. And this is what Rashi, at the very end of the parsha, in Perek Chavav Pasuk Aleph, speaks out that what's going to end up happening is that if you don't keep Shemitah, you're going to end up selling your land. And if you still don't realize that you're on the wrong derech, then you're going to end up losing more things and more things and more things. And that is how he explains every single step of the Parsha. A person gets messages. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends us messages. Now, we don't have a Navi. We don't know. But a person has to pay attention to the things that are happening to him in his life and see why. Why is this happening to me? A person can't just say it's all random. It's just happening. HaKadosh Baruch Hu guides us with Hashkacha Pratis. Everything that happens to us is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to happen. Now, why? Now, sometimes we don't know, but there are certainly places where you can say, this needs to be fixed. I'm doing something wrong over here, and I need to fix that. And a person can speak with their Rabbanim about it and think, do a cheshbon nefesh, what can I do better? What can I do better? And the truth of the matter is, for most of us, it's probably not so hard to find things that we can do better. Whether it means getting to Shachris, or whether it means spending more time learning Torah, or whether it means being more careful the way we speak about somebody else. All of these things are very common. Everybody knows where their weaknesses are, or if you would look a little bit, you would know where your weakness is. If you would take the time to look introspectively, you would see. Now, this is a very difficult thing. It's very understandable why people don't want to do this, but this is the answer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sending us messages. Why does this and this thing keep happening to me? The second Rashi is in the beginning of Parshas Bechukosai, and here you see an amazing insight into the way people act. The very beginning of Parshas Bechukosai talks about in Bechukosai telechu. What does that mean? You go in my ways, in my statutes. What does that mean? So Rashi here says What it means is to be amel in Torah. It means to toil in Torah, to work in Torah. That's where I'm putting my effort in. So it seems that toiling in Torah would be that's like a milah. You don't have to be I can be a balabas. I don't have to work in Torah. It's not true. Rashi goes on to say that if a person doesn't do this, he doesn't work in Torah, in the end, he's not going to end up being mekayim the mitzvos. And if he's not going to be mekayim the mitzvos, he's going to end up hating the mitzvos. And if he's going to come up hating the mitzvahs, he's not going to do anything, and he's going to cause others to not do. And slowly, he becomes, unfortunately, even the last step, a kofer be'ikr, somebody who denies even Hashem. How does this happen? How does a person go from not learning as much as he should, not working hard in his learning, to a person who's just completely leaves Yiddishkeit? That he is not just leaves Yiddishkeit because he's angry, but he really becomes a kofer be'ikr. It means that he doesn't believe anymore. Sometimes people go off the derech, but they still believe. They know it's hard, and they're mumar l'te'avo, and they have taivas, and they go off the derech, but do they not believe in God anymore? They don't believe in the essentials of the principles of faith. They don't believe in that. They totally disregard the emes of the Torah. Seems pretty extreme. How could such a thing happen? The first step is in Behar-Bechukosai telechu or not. If a person is amel in Torah, so then he's going to want to keep the Torah. And if he's going to want to keep the Torah, he's going to grow in the Torah. And there's a step process. I heard one time, and this is probably a very common mashal, that the life is similar to like an escalator, a downward going escalator. A person who tries to go up an escalator that is moving downward is going to very difficult to get to the top. He's going to have to put in a lot of effort. It's going to be much harder than just walking up a regular set of stairs. So that's what life is like. Life always is pulling us down. If you want to get to the top, we have to work hard. Even if you want to stay where you are, you have to work hard. You can't just let life take you and everything will be fine and life will push me along. That life is pulling me down a little bit at a time. That's what happens. If a person is not working hard, then memela, what ends up happening is they start falling a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. This, like the first Rashi, shows us a certain chain reaction that happens in life. And this is something that is true. Whether or not we acknowledge it or not doesn't make it not true. But if a person would look into their own lives, or they would look into the lives of the people around them, you would see this happening. The key over here is to be davuk to Hashem. The only way we're going to survive in this world is to cling to Hashem. The world is such a crazy place. There are so many extreme, not just extreme, but strange, different drachim, different ways that people are going in. How in the world is a person supposed to stay sane? How is a person supposed to be on a derech that will lead to fulfillment and happiness? That's only through the Torah. And if a person thinks that, I can take it easy, I don't have to be amel in Torah. I'm not to say that every person needs a break here and there. That's part of keeping us fresh and strong in order so we can serve Hashem better. But if a person takes on a philosophy of, I can be easy, can be light, I don't have to do anything, and that becomes his derech, that becomes his way of life, he's just going to get pulled down. And you think a person can't get pulled down mamish to the depth? You can. And where did it start? It starts by not being amel in Torah. How long does it take? It might take a little while. You might even not see it right away. You might not even see it in that person. It might take to the next generation or the generation after that. And we see this. We've seen this in the Haskalah and the Enlightenment, where people wanted to change the way of Yiddishkeit. They created Reform Judaism, and they thought that was going to be the way that they were going to save Yiddishkeit. And many times, their own children married goyim, or their grandchildren married goyim, because once you're not involved in what Yiddishkeit truly is, and that is the Torah itself, then slowly, everything will fall away. But the opposite is true as well. I'm going to leave with that. A person should know that if I'm truly being amel in Torah, I'm really trying honestly my hardest to stick with the Torah, learn Torah, and be involved in mitzvos, and be involved in chesed, and be involved in tefillah, I'm really trying my best, that person and their family will see success. Yes, here and there, every person is an individual, and we don't have control necessarily over our children, and they're going to have their own influences as well. But the more a person puts Torah into his family, the better chances they have, and certainly for themselves to grow and have a real fulfilling life. See the chain. Start from the beginning, see the end. Once you know what the end is, choose the right beginning. Have a good Shabbos.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Ellie Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.